I don't know how you feel about this. We haven't talked about it off air or anything. I really think even if Rice, even like, let's say, whatever, the later this week, early next week, they come back and they say, you know what, he's going to miss, I don't know, pick a number, 8 weeks.
Yeah.
But we think he's going to be back. Mm-hmm. I would still go out and trade for a receiver like he's not going to be back.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank. If you're thinking about starting a business or know someone who is, check out Emprise Bank's SBA loans. It's always good to know your options, and they can be your partner in possible.
Hello and welcome into That Football Show here on KC Sports Network. I'm your host, Tucker Franklin, joined as always by Matt Verderame. Thank you to our sponsors, Ben Holiday Bottled and Bond Bourbon and Holiday Distillery, for making this show possible. Matt, another week in the books. Kansas City Chiefs win another game. The only undefeated team in the AFC. How you feeling?
I feel pretty good. Normally you think you'd feel like, elated, like they're 4-0, but they make you feel like every game is just a battle royale to the death. Add on the injury to Rashee Rice and the uncertainty around the injury to Rashee Rice. No one really knows what happened to him. Right. But all told, 4-0. I mean, it's hard to really argue with 4-0, right? Everybody thought the Bills were the best team in football. Or, a lot of people thought they were the best team in football. I won't say everybody excited. Then they went out and played a good football team and just got absolutely. It's never good when the first play from scrimmage pops off for an 87-yard touchdown and the guy wasn't touched. Okay, that's never a good sign of things to come. That's what happened in Baltimore on Sunday night.
Yeah, it was. That was an interesting game. I did not anticipate that game to be as one-sided as it was. But you mentioned it. You hit on the big story kind of coming out of the Chiefs win in LA is the Rashee Rice injury, and it's been the big storyline kind of this whole week because we don't know what the injury is yet, which is also super bizarre and super strange because in this day and age, the year of our Lord 2024 in modern medicine, you usually know those things pretty darn quick. And there's a test. I can't remember the name of the test, but they're talking about the on-field test. Yeah, for the ACL, it's like 98% effective in determining a torn ACL. Yeah. And maybe this is the 2% where it wasn't. It's a weird situation going on. But would you anticipate anything with the Chiefs to be straightforward and cut and dry, Matt, at this point in the dynasty run?
Well, we're recording this on Thursday morning, and if Andy comes out in a few hours and it's like he's day to day, then we know it's an amputation. I mean that's all we know. We can figure out from there that he hasn't lost the limb. The Chiefs have a weird history of just like I feel like the last handful of years, and not so much with injuries. Like I can't remember an injury where they've been like odd about it, other than the Eric Berry thing. But I think that was frankly a little more about Eric Berry than it was like the team. The Chiefs just have weird stuff happen. It's just like things that you're like, what's going on? Like whether it's been off-field issues, which they God knows had plenty of. Okay, whether it has been games where you just can't make heads or tails about what the fuck is happening, whether it's a good thing like the 13 seconds game, or it's the Colts game from a couple of years ago, where you're like, are they actively trying to lose this game? Like, are they throwing this game? And then there's also like Sky Moore still getting snaps in 2024 and dropping passes, and apparently the general manager slamming his fist down in the press box. They very rarely with the Chiefs are you just like, you know what? That one completely according to the way it was supposed to go. That was right down the line. Like, I mean, there is a show on this network called Only Weird Game.
Right.
There's a reason for that. So I guess this entire thing fits because they are the Chiefs after all.
It does fit, and it's one of those things where the Chiefs have been, and I'm glad you brought that up, the Chiefs have been lucky when it comes to injuries. Like, they've had really good injury luck during this back-to-back run during their 3 Super Bowls in 5 years run. They haven't had too many terrible injuries, probably outside of the offensive line in the Tampa Bay Super Bowl.
And that didn't end well.
That did not end well. So the Chiefs have been fairly injury lucky. the play that it happened on too, Matt, was just one of the... How it happened was maybe one of the most frustrating ways for it to happen, because it's a pass that is like, where in the world are you throwing that ball? Then all of a sudden, maybe Patrick Mahomes' least favorite 15 seconds of his career, I would probably assume, with a terrible pass mixed up with him throwing a shoulder pad into Rashee Rice's knee.
Yeah, it's one of those things you're like, as bad as it is, and what are you going to do? It's just bad luck. Just, I'm not even, but like, it starts out with another terrible interception. And like, I'm watching the play unfold. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, how many of these do you have in you in September? You're going to go for like number 10 later this game? Like, how many more? I feel like last year, so many of his interceptions were balls that just like went right through Kadarius Toney's hands. And you're like, what are you going to do? Like, that's not Kadarius Toney. Every one of Mahomes' picks this year have been completely on Patrick Mahomes. Yeah. Every single one of them. Like, and look, I'm not going to sit here and bash Patrick Mahomes. Like, if I had to pick one quarterback to win a game that I've ever watched, it's him. But he's had a rough start to the year by his standards.
Yeah.
And he makes that throw. And, like, look, he probably feels worse about it than anybody and is pissed and is trying to make a tackle and maybe blows his receiver's knee out because, he's trying to make a play and, there's chaos around him. It's just, at this point, you really hope that Rice can come back at some time this season. But I don't know how you feel about this. We haven't talked about it off air or anything. I really think even if Rice, like, let's say, whatever, the later this week, early next week, they come back and they say, you know what, he's going to miss, I don't know, pick a number, 8 weeks.
Yeah.
But we think he's going to be back. Mm-hmm. I would still go out and trade for a receiver like he's not going to be back. That would be, because I don't think you can go into it like, oh, he's going to be back. And then he comes back and maybe it's like, and we don't know, but let's just say like it's partially torn ACL or something. And he comes back and then he actually tears it, or he's just ineffective. And now you're like, well, now we're screwed because it's week 12 and the trade deadline is right after week 9. Like, if I'm the Chiefs, I would go out and be like, look, this is Hollywood Brown's replacement. And if we get Rashee back, awesome. If we get Hollywood back late in the year, awesome. But, like, we're going to go out and get this guy. And if we get this guy and we get them both back, then fantastic. Then we're never going to lose a game. But I think if you're the Chiefs, you have to approach it like, we need to go get a big-time receiver. Not for the love of God. Not like, hey, we got DeMarcus Robinson back. Like, no. Like, somebody who actually moves the needle, and we can get into some of those guys. But, like, I think that's what they have to do. I really do. Even if they think he's going to come back, I don't think they can treat it like, oh, that's the answer. They've got to bolster the receivers.
I'm looking at the Chiefs depth chart right now when it comes to wide receivers. So you're looking at Xavier Worthy, Justin Watson, Juju Smith-Schuster, McCole Hardman, and Sky Moore. That probably won't get it done.
It's not going to be. Listen, I will say this, not just to quickly. Like, I do think that this team, even with all the stuff that's happened at receiver, I still think the depth of this group is much better than last year. Like, Kadarius Toney was beyond atrocious. Sky Moore, who somehow is part of both depth charts, is terrible. Like, Juju is better than both those guys. I don't care if he's got one knee, okay? And Hardman is better than both those guys. But the concern I have right now is those guys, I mean, Juju's played a little bit. Hardman's barely played at all. Hasn't played 10 snaps on offense this year yet. And they're still playing Sky Moore for reasons I just can't. Like, I'm to the point, genuinely, if I was in that room as a reporter, and look, I've been a handful of times after games. I don't think I've ever been there for a presser during the week. The question has to be asked at this point. Like, why is he playing? What is the reasoning? And I know, and to be fair to the reporters, because I'm not trying to throw anybody in there, but like, to be fair to the reporters, they have asked that. Yeah. Like, I think it was Monday, or maybe it was even after the game. Somebody did ask that question. I forget who it was, but somebody did ask that question. So good on them. But that's like a fair question at this point going forward here. Like, why is he getting 10 snaps? What is he contributing? And then Andy says, like, well, he's had some good snaps. Well, can you point those out on film? Because I got to tell you, I haven't seen him. He has been targeted one time of note this year, and he dropped the ball. He has no receptions. Like, to me, see whatever you want about McCole Hardman. You're going to tell me McCole Hardman's not better than him?
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, McCole Hardman has functioning hands. Like, just that alone, he's better than Sky Moore. So, I think if they need to for a few weeks, they can get by with this group. But are they going to win a Super Bowl with this group? Well, last year proves anything's possible.
Yeah,
but
true.
I wouldn't try to roll those dice twice.
I think the Sky Moore play time is an indictment more on the other wide receivers that we saw during training camp, potentially, than it is for maybe Sky Moore himself, right? The Sky Moore has made some good, I will say, Sky Moore without the ball, like when he is blocking, like, yes, like that's a part of being a wide receiver, but a big part of being a wide receiver is catching the ball. I will say he's made some good block plays on some run plays. Yeah, he's done that. Those are probably the good snaps Andy's talking about. But you're right with the target and everything. Like you have one target, you were open, and it hit you in the hands, and you should catch it. But maybe that's more of an indictment on, maybe Justin Ross or Nico Remigio, guys who like didn't make the roster, who maybe can't light up all the time in the right spot, and maybe can't make those away from the ball type plays that Sky Moore is willing to make.
I just, like, oh, sorry. Like, what are we doing? I mean, I've seen Justin Ross catch a pass, which immediately puts him ahead of Sky Moore, in my opinion. Does Nico Remigio, like, understand the basic rules of American football? Because if he does, and he's got hands, I'd play him over Sky Moore. I feel bad. I feel like I'm just bashing the crap out of the guy, and I don't mean to be. Like, I genuinely, at this point, it's almost a bit.
Yeah.
Like, it almost feels like the Chiefs are just like, well, what else can we do? Now, I don't want to see them be negative about it. They're 4-0, and
true,
they're playing really well defensively.
Mm-hmm.
Offensively, they're running the ball very well. I feel like the offensive line has found its water level here with Morris. So, like, there's a lot of things. Kelsey bounced back. Kelsey had a good game. He looked like Kelsey, so that was extremely encouraging and reassuring. I think Xavier Worthy's going to be a star, man. Like, I really do. That kid, like, he's open all the time. Like, if you watch the all 22 of them, like, he's open constantly. If I was Mahomes, I'd be, hey, Xavier, get ready for 12 targets on Monday night because here it comes. Like, he's open. He's open on crossers. He's open on corners. He's open on posts. He's open on goes. I think right now it's really about, look, they've got to bring in one more receiver to fix this. Because if Rice was healthy, I'd like to see Mahomes play a little bit better. And Mahomes needs to play a little bit better. The rest of it, yeah, sure. Look, we could talk about, we'd like to see a little more of an ancillary pass rush next to Chris Jones. We'd like to see maybe a little bit better coverage out of the linebackers. I mean, all those things are true, but none of those things are sinking this team. Yeah. Like, and by the way, one weird thing about the Chiefs, because I've seen a lot of numbers about like their sacks and like, well, they're third in pressure rate, and they're number one in the NFL in knocking down the quarterback per dropback.
Interesting.
They knock down the quarterback 15% of dropbacks. Best in the NFL. They get pressure over 30% of the time.
Wow.
So, like, I think the sack numbers are going to eventually be there. I also think that part of the reason the sack numbers aren't there is they play Lamar Jackson. And he could have had 6 sacks that night and had 1.
Uh-huh.
And, if you have, let's even say, 4 sacks that night, the numbers look different. So, I think it'll be fine. But, yeah, they got to get another receiver. And Mahomes has got to play better. I thought against the Chargers, he was just uneven. Like, he scrambled out of too many clean pockets. He made a bad interception, had a bad interception, whatever. Yeah. But there's plenty to like about where they are, too.
And there were plays where I think that was his most, like, inconsistent performance, right? Because there were still some plays and some throws where you're like, there it is. There's Patrick Mahomes. And then some plays, as you mentioned, where he had just had some happy feet, I guess you could call it.
Yeah.
Of him just not being very comfortable back there. But I want to talk about maybe a positive here, Matt, because now this isn't a positive. We went into the game expecting Carson Steele to be the bell cow, right? He goes and he fumbles again. Second time in 4 games. It's too many fumbles to have as a running back in the National Football League. Mm-hmm. Then Kareem Hunt comes in and he looks like he's still got some juice left. He looks like he might be the RB1 on this team until Isaiah Pacheco comes back. Would you have thought you'd be saying that in 2024?
No, I won't. But can I give you a really, it's a hot take that I'm not fully ready to commit to, but I also, if he plays like this.
Still in the oven.
Yes. Yeah. It's not quite like Sharon Weiss and Marie Count. It's not quite there.
Right.
Anyone knows that. If you know, you know.
Uh-huh.
And if you don't, look it up. It's hilarious. Is Kareem Hunt the best running back in the team, period?
Maybe.
Kareem Hunt was was getting after it in that game in a way that I did not expect. I kind of expected Kareem Hunt to be fine, and he's getting
serviceable.
I thought if he should get 3, he'll get 3, and if he should get 4, he'll get 4. And there were a handful of runs in that game where I was like, oh, he should get 2, and got 6 because he just trucked the linebacker and just outran the corner to the edge. And you're like, okay, that's kind of interesting. I'm not fully ready to commit to that because that might be, hey, look, he's really, really, really fresh. And after 4 weeks, he doesn't quite look like that. But if he continues to look like this, I am not, I want to be clear about this because I can already see the comments. Look, I am not saying to bench Isaiah Pacheco. That's insane. Isaiah Pacheco's a really good running back. What I am saying is maybe you have a really, really good tandem of running backs that you're hey, we're going to run the ball 25 times. Let's give one guy 15 carries and the other one 10 just based on who's got the hot hand early in the game. Or maybe even 13 and 12. And it's just you know what's going to happen? Somebody's going to be fresh at the end of the game and somebody's not, in terms of the offense and the defense. And you feel pretty good about that if you're the Chiefs. Because I got to be fair, man. Hunt had 14 carries to 69 yards that game. He looked really good. Significantly better than I thought he was going to look. So that was interesting. That was a little bit of an eye-opener for me. Again, maybe it's just that he's fresh. That's fine. It could be possible.
Yeah.
Look really good to me.
Yeah, there's a couple of times, too, I pointed this out on the postgame show where Hunt was a shoestring tackle away from breaking a decently sized run. I was trying to look up rush yards over expected. I don't think I have the access to that stat, but it feels like anecdotally that he was, as you had mentioned, getting more than what was blocked up. And we know that that's one thing that Isaiah Pacheco does. Isaiah Pacheco will get you the yards that's blocked up. He doesn't really make people miss all that much. He doesn't really pull over people. He's a hard runner, but that's not his bag. Isn't the moves down the field to make people miss. Kareem Hunt was doing a little bit more down the field, making people miss and getting more yards than what was blocked up for. And look, I do think in the NFL, in 2024's NFL, I think you have to have 2 to 3 very competent and solid running backs.
Right.
Feel comfortable. I think that this isn't like any other position where you have one starter and that's the guy that you're given 35 carries to. That's not what happens. You have to have 3 guys because the running back position, there's just so much attrition at the running back position. You have to have 3 guys you feel very comfortable with. And look, if Samaje Perine, he's still kind of coming on to his own. They're putting him in third down situations mostly, but I think just because of the pass pro.
Samaje Perine is not Kareem Hunt.
Well, that's very true. So
my point is if I'm the Chiefs, I'm not saying you're saying that. I'm just saying if I'm the Chiefs, I'm looking at this if this guy plays like this for the next 6 to 8 weeks. Yeah, you know what I'm going to do? I am going to play Kareem Hunt a lot the first half of games. And when defenses are tired and they're sick of running, but then here comes what is a human sledgehammer 15 times the second half. Here it comes. Coming downhill behind that offensive line. Because the one thing I will say, and I kind of alluded to it earlier, since Randy Morris has come in, they're playing really well up front. Mitchell Schwartz had a great thread on Twitter that people should check out about this game. And I'm not saying they played perfect. There were too many times that Mahomes had a little bit of not even so much pressure, but annoyance in the pocket where a guy got pushed back a little bit. But the first couple weeks of the year, there were times where Mahomes would drop back. And it was just immediately some guy was screaming around the edge or somebody was looping inside. That doesn't happen. Now, Juwan Taylor took 3 penalties because, Juwan Taylor. Yeah. But, and at some point he had to make sure he was on pace. But listen, I thought the offensive line was much better the last couple of weeks. And I think one thing about them, they can run block. Like, they can really move guys. And if you've got a defense that's tired of chasing around Kareem Hunt, and here comes Pacheco in the third and fourth quarter over and over, like, that's where Pacheco could break a 50-yard run.
Yeah. Because
the teams are just, they're beat up, they're tired, they don't want to get off another block from Trey Smith, and all of a sudden he just, he makes a linebacker miss and he's gone. But I think that could be a really interesting tandem if Hunt plays anywhere near the level he played on Sunday.
Yeah, for sure. Before we take a break, we got some picks from Benny. He sent us in some picks. Couldn't be with us today, but he did send us his spirit and his picks on Underdog. Go check those out. We'll have those here in a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about this Saints matchup, because the Saints do have a ton of people that used to be Chiefs on their team. Like, they tried to carbon copy the 2019 Chiefs defense and put it as their own defense in 2024. An interesting strategy nonetheless, but a strategy that they are employing. And look, it's kind of worked out pretty well for them, but they are also facing a slew of injuries. I don't think Willie Gay is going to play in this game because he suffered an injury. Tyrann Mathieu suffered an injury as well against the Falcons. Taysom Hill, that's a big one for them. And I believe Alvin Kamara might be banged up a little bit too. So they've got some injuries after a hot start. They've kind of cooled off a bit here, Matt.
They have. So they started out 2-0, and we're averaging 45.5 points per game.
Tough pace to keep up, by the way.
Yeah, I was going to say, a pace that is not easy to maintain. And then, look, they lost to Philadelphia in a game that came right down to the end. I don't know the score in front of me. It was like 16-13 or something. And it was a weird game. I'm going to pull it up real quick. It was a weird game because if you really look at it, it was utter dominance by Philadelphia, but Nick Sirianni got involved, and it's just 15-12. The game...
Weird score.
And it's 15-12. Philly outgained them 460 to 219. And, 460 to 219. And the Eagles didn't score until the fourth quarter because Nick Sirianni just kept going for it on fourth down at every spot in the field.
Right. I remember that, yeah.
It was insane. And then last week, the Saints played the Falcons. They lost at the gun on a 58-yard field goal. That's tough. That being said, that game was much more even. Saints had a couple turnovers. They actually outplayed Atlanta to some degree. They had the ball for over 35 and a half minutes. They had 25 first downs to 14. They were 3 or 4 in the red zone, but they had 2 turnovers. They probably should have won. The only thing that's weird is like Atlanta, because of the time difference, like Atlanta actually outplayed them pretty significantly on a per play basis, but it didn't matter because the Saints had the ball forever. Look, the bottom line is this game's not that hard to surmise. Like, the Saints have to run the ball in this game.
Mm-hmm.
They have to run the football. If they can't run the ball, I think it becomes very difficult for them because Carr is still look, he's Carr. I mean, that's not a knock. That's who he is. Like, he's fine. He's basically Kirk Cousins. And if you can limit Kamara, you're good. Now, Kamara to this point in the year has been very good. He had 5.5 yards per carry in his first game. He had 115 yards, 5.8 yards per carry against Dallas with 4 touchdowns in that game.
Yeah.
Philly did a good job. He had 87 yards, but he had 26 carries, so they had 3.3 yards per carry. And then last week, 19 for 77, 4.1, and a touchdown. He also has 20 receptions for 174 yards. And this is where it is interesting with the Saints. Like, if you look at their passing game, so Chris Olave is terrific. He is also bolstered by Rashid Shaheed, who has 252 yards as a burner to get downfield. And so you have Olave with 265. You have Shaheed with 252. Kamara is the third guy, who's 174. Their next leading receiver is Foster Moreau, their tight end, with 45 yards.
Wow.
Their third receiver, Mason Tipton, has 23 yards. So if you're the Chiefs, it's like, hey, look, man up with Olave and Shaheed, with Watson and McDuffie, and then put like 9 guys on Kamara, and you're in pretty good shape. Nobody else is going to go. Like, it's not a balanced offense where they're going to go to the tight end, the third receiver, and the fourth receiver. It's not that. It's those 2 receivers and swinging it out to Kamara. Like, that's the offense, and you've got to be prepared for it.
Clay Kubiak's done a good job there
Yep.
With the offense. Matt Hamilton on the KC Lab preview show. I could not get the word preview out of my mouth. the KC Lab preview show was talking about how it's almost positionless a little bit when it comes to the skill position players, where they play the wide receivers, slot, inside, outside, all of that. Very interesting how they are running. The first time they've had a new offensive coordinator there, 12 years, because the guy there before was there for a very long time. What I thought was interesting about the Falcons-Saints game, Falcons did not score an offensive touchdown.
Yeah,
he had a pick six and then a fumble six, and then Koo hit at 1, 2, 3, 4 field goals. So
tough way to lose in New Orleans.
That's a very tough way to lose. But look, I think it was a rule that the Falcons had to win because they were wearing those super sick throwback uniforms.
How those uniforms aren't their regular uniforms is just such a disgrace. Instead, they wear that bullshit where it's like ATL on the front of the uniform. It's like when the Browns did that and had Cleveland on the front. It's like, yeah, I know where you're fucking from. Thanks for the heads up. Thanks for throwing ATL on the as if I was unaware that the Falcons played in Atlanta. You know? Or it's like when the Browns, the Browns uniforms, when they did that, they're the worst effing things you'll ever see. Well, they had Browns on the pants.
Yes.
And I was like, again, are we unsure of who you are? That's such a weird thing. Okay, every other sport, well, I shouldn't say every other sport, it's not for hockey. In basketball and in baseball, it's tradition. Okay, we get it. It's, you're in New York or you're the Knicks or whatever. Can we please, with the NFL, please stop? The teams do this. It's so embarrassing. We got it. And if you're Atlanta, you got those beauties, and it's like the Broncos. They look like Boise State as a knockoff Boise State team. And then this week they're wearing their beautiful throwbacks against the Raiders.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey guys, wear them all the time. They're the best uniform you have. It's the only good thing about the whole team. Okay? Wear those to distract from the fact that Bo Nix is averaging 4.4 yards per pass. No. Let's dress like crap instead. That'd be good.
It is certainly, uniform choices are interesting when it comes down to what these teams choose to do. Look, I'm a big fan of the aesthetics of the game. I know you are as well, Matt.
Yes.
We've had some conversations about new uniform drops and uniform releases and stuff like that. But the Falcons one, the red helmet, is beautiful.
I'm physically ill that's not the uniform.
It is so perfect.
Infuriating. Oh, it's like the Seahawks. For the love of God, go back to your uniforms from the 80s.
Oh, those are great. The silver helmets.
Yeah. Who was looking at this being like, no, let's stick with this monochrome bullshit that we've got going on. That's great. Who?
Neon green.
Atrocious. Who is asking for this? Or it's like the Cardinals with all their bells and whistles. Just go back to being big red. You were in the 80s and the 70s. Or the Rams, another team. The horn doesn't even go all the way around.
Yeah.
It's like a semicircle. Fix your fucking helmet. Put on an actual helmet. Just go back to the Kurt Warner era, the when they won the Super Bowl, not the gold, the blue and yellow. Just go back to that.
Mm-hmm.
Some of these teams, they think too hard.
Yeah.
What do they all give the Chiefs? They've got a great uniform, and they haven't listened to all these people who are like, let's have a black alternate uniform. No. You deserve prison time. No. You stay with what you got. It's a classic. Don't change it. And I think because of Clark Hunt the way he is with history and everything else, I don't think they will change it. But it drives me nuts to be we need an alternate. No, you don't. They all look atrocious. Leave it alone.
It's great. That's a great point. All right, take a break. When we come back on the other side, Benny sent us some picks, and we'll talk about them next.
Shop Chiefs tickets and more with no fees. Plus, save big with code KCSN at ticketsforless.com, the official ticket provider of KC Sports Network.
You know when you discover a new binge-worthy show or a song that you bump on repeat and you have to share it with your friends so they can experience just how awesome it is? That's kind of what it feels like when you discover Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for $15 a month when you purchase a 3-month plan. That's such an awesome deal. There's no way you can keep it to yourself. Friends don't let friends overpay for wireless. Say bye-bye to your overpriced wireless plan and switch to Mint Mobile. Mint Mobile is here to rescue you and your squad with premium wireless plans starting at $15 a month. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along with all of your existing contacts. Ditch overpriced wireless with Mint Mobile's deal and get 3 months of premium wireless service for $15 a month. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/KCSNTFS. That's mintmobile.com/KCSNTFS. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/KCSNTFS. $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details. All right, here's Benny's picks presented by Underdog. Hey, look, if you are new to the Underdog game, we got a deal for you. Use that promo code KCSN when you sign up to claim your free pick plus a first-time deposit offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash. There's a link in the description. Or, look, just download the app Underdog, and they'll ask you for a promo code KCSN. It's right there on your screen. It's the network you're listening to. Throw that in there. Help us help you as we get into the heat of football season. 3 picks here from Benny. First one, let's talk about Tyler Conklin. We're going to Minnesota as the Jets take on the Vikings, the only other undefeated team in the NFL. Tyler Conklin higher than 2.5 receptions. Benny says here, seeing more consistent volume from Rodgers, and Conklin will be open more frequently this week versus a Minnesota defense who loves to blitz. Vikings have also given up opponents' tight ends, tied to tight ends this year, 22 catches on 32 targets. Thoughts on that, Matt?
You know, I feel like if you're going to bet on Tyler Conklin, you've done your homework, right? Like
That's fair.
You got to feel like you have to. He's got 11 catches in 4 games, so I don't hate it. Minnesota is a team you're going to dump the ball off a lot against because of how aggressive they are. So, look, far be it for me to push back on a Tyler Conklin bet.
That's fair.
So I feel like at that point, if he's that confident, you're just going to have to go with him. It's an interesting thought, and Conklin has quietly made some catches for the Jets, and he's had to, because the Jets, other than against New England, that offense not exactly just moving with a lot of tempo. So
I did see something that Garrett Wilson wants them to be more aggressive on offense. I saw an article out about that.
Good. That's good.
I think he's right. I didn't realize he changed his number, by the way. It was like 3 games into the season. I was like, wait, he changed his number. Can't be doing that. How much do you think that was for him to change his number? How much did he have to pay to buy out all those jerseys? Because there's got to be a decent amount of Garrett Wilson jerseys out there prior to his number change.
I don't know, man. I don't know. A couple 100,000.
Yeah, that's wild. Anyway, back to
my number. That's just me.
Back to the guard. Jaden Reed. We're going to L.A. versus Green Bay. This game is in L.A.
Yep.
We got another pass catcher. Jaden Reed, higher than 61.5 receiving yards. Benny says super opportunistic here versus a porous Rams pass defense, particularly in the slot. In 2 starts with Jordan Love, Reed has 14 targets, 312 total yards, and 3 touchdowns, so higher than 61.5 receiving yards. The second pick here on Benny's card.
I like it. I'm a big Jaden Reed fan. I have been since I saw him at the Senior Bowl a couple of years ago, and he has emerged as their number 1, and Christian Watson is dealing with an ankle sprain, so he's probably going to miss the game. Yeah. I think Reed is going to have a big day. The Rams are just so beat up, man. They can't function. And Tre'Davious White, it's over. I think Reed's going to have a pretty big day. I do. And the Packers have to win this game. You're 2-2. You got to kind of get right. I think they win, and I think Reed has a big day. I feel really good about that bet.
Yeah, I'm with you there, too. Last one, we're going to get to a running back here to fill out Benny's card. Justice Hill in a division game at Cincinnati, a noontime kickoff. He's got him higher than 20.5 receiving yards. Hill is expecting a rare AFC North shootout that gives Hill more run in the passing game. Easily cleared this number in games where Baltimore became more pass-heavy in recent games. So thoughts on Justice Hill higher than 20.5 receiving yards?
Tell you what, I was literally saying to my dad the other day, I'm like, you know who's one of the most underrated players in football? Justice Hill. The guy's just really good. So I'm in. Not to just back Heisler blindly. I remember giving him crap at his Panthers over the Saints pick. I agree. He's become a really valuable weapon. They just extended him. So yeah, I'm in on the Justice Hill hype train.
I like Justice Hill just like as a football player. You mentioned it. Like he makes like he's one of those fun football players, and like him going after Chris Jones and not having any fear of the world, going up against a giant human being in Chris Jones in the pass protection game is something, you know, I do love to see. And we're looking here at the underdog calendars. I'm looking at the new customer free pick calendar that they gave us here at KC Network. If you're doing this on Thursday, you can get your free pick of Kirk Cousins. If you're doing this on Friday, Dak Prescott through the weekend. So you know what? Maybe you want to go on Thursday. Maybe you want to get your free pick on Thursday of Kirk Cousins to add to this. If you do it all over the weekend, it's going to be Dak Prescott. If you go to Underdog, use the code KCSN, claim your free pick, which would be either Kirk Cousins or Dak Prescott, depending on the day that you're doing this. The first time deposit offer up to $1,000. Holy cow! In bonus cash. Use the link in the description or download the Underdog app wherever you get your apps. It'll be there for you. Let's talk about this week's slate, Matt. I had a good friend of the program, Christian Gummager, sent me the 506 Sports link, right, where they tweet out the maps. He's like, I cannot wait for you guys to talk about this week's maps. We'll get to that in a second. I just want to talk about the schedule, the slate so far. Bye week start this week. We have a first London game of the season. First game overseas. We have bye weeks for the Lions, the Chargers, the Eagles, and the Titans. So early buys for those teams. Any matchups catching your eye?
I mean, yes, two, but I can't believe they're both at noon, which are Buffalo at Houston and Cincinnati at Baltimore. Like, they're both at noon?
Yeah.
Why? Why are they both at noon, NFL?
Because the Cowboys got to play in prime time, man.
Oh, my God. Bro, it's like, okay, look. First of all, Cowboys play at 7:20 against Pittsburgh, which I'm not even going to kill that. Although, it's enough with the NFC East. Like, for the love of God, this isn't 1995 anymore. We're like, what's the market size? Like, Kansas City is the epicenter of football, okay? And I love Kansas City. I love visiting it. I love the people there. But, Kansas City is not New York or L.A. size-wise, okay? Nobody cares. Have you looked at the ratings for these games? Kansas City outrates everybody. Now, to that point, Houston is the fourth largest market in the United States. What do you think? Them playing Buffalo is going to kill you? Like, that's not going to do a rating? Or like people are going to go, oh, Cincinnati, that's a city I can't get behind. So one of those games should have been prime time. That's here or there. My bigger gripe is that not one of those games is in the late window. Mm-hmm. So the early window, you have 3 games on CBS and you have 3 games on Fox, and then later in the day, you have 4 games. You have 6 and 4.
Mm-hmm.
Not a bad balance, but here's my problem. So here are the late games, okay? You tell me which game you're like, man, can't wait to watch this thing. Arizona at San Francisco. Las Vegas at Denver. New York Giants at Seattle. Green Bay at the Rams. If the Rams were healthy, you could argue it.
Yeah.
These games suck. Who the hell's watching who is like, yeah, awesome, Raiders, Broncos. One of those games, one of the Bills, Texans, or Ravens, Bengals should have been a 425 game.
Yeah.
And instead, we're stuck with abject bullshit at 4 o'clock. And also, by the way, Nance and Romo, what game do you think they're calling this week?
Oh, gosh, I have it up in front of me, but I haven't looked. You'd assume they're on one of those 2 early games.
One would assume.
Yeah.
One would assume. One would be incorrect. They somehow are calling the Packers-Rams game, which should be a Fox game.
Right, it's an NFC
on CBS.
Yeah.
And instead, we get on Buffalo Houston, we get Ian Eagle and Charles Davis.
Okay.
And then Baltimore, Cincinnati, we get Harlan and Green. And I got to tell you, it is nothing personal against the Eagle Davis thing. It's not a combination I'm over the moon about. And I will tell you, I've gotten to know Charles Davis a little bit. One of the nicest people to get to meet. I think he does a very good job. I don't know. It's just, everybody's got their own preference. Like, I will watch the Baltimore Cincinnati game live because it's Kevin Harlan.
Yeah.
Now what I'll probably do is like early on toggle between them and then see like which game's the game, the other is better game. But the fact that I have to toggle is a travesty, and Goodell's going to know about it. I am going to write a whole column on Sports Illustrated about the NFL scheduling bullshit, and I demand answers. I want to know why we have to sit here and pretend that all these big market teams are huge draws. They're not. How many people in your life are you like, man, how do you know, like, man, I love the Cowboys, and I can't wait to watch them on Sunday night? Who are these people? All these people who, when I was a kid, were bandwagon fans because they had the triplets. Nobody cares. All those people fell off the bandwagon when Quincy Carter was the quarterback, okay? Those people went bye-bye a long time ago. The Cowboys are not America's team anymore. The Chiefs are. I wrote about this a year ago, Fresh Eye. Like, it's the truth. Now, I get it. The Steelers and the Cowboys have big fan bases, but it's not like if you don't put that in Sunday Night Football, it's not like if you put Buffalo Houston there, people are going to go, Buffalo, not watching that game. Like, it drives me crazy. Do the schedule the way it should be done and stop, like, pandering. Like, we got to get the Giants on national television. No, we don't. No, we don't. My God, who the hell wants to see the Giants on national television? It's enough. Please stop.
So when you look at the map, the broadcast map here, it's pretty straightforward. I think when it comes to the CBS early game, if you're living in Kansas City,
you get to the Fox game.
Right. The Fox game's just wild, by the way. And we'll talk about that one. Buffalo at Houston is what you're going to see in Kansas City. Not a surprise there. I did notice that Baltimore at Cincinnati is being shown in Baton Rouge in the south there. That is for Joe Burrow.
That's right.
CBS late window, that one's pretty straightforward as well. Basically, only Seattle and New York are getting Giants and Seahawks. Yeah. And everyone else is getting Rams Packers.
Yeah. My personal favorite, and maybe you know this and I'm missing something. So, New York, PA, Jersey, in the Fox window, they're all getting Cleveland and Washington, which makes sense because those teams are in that area.
Yeah.
And then there's a tiny little window around Buffalo that's getting Arizona, San Francisco.
Yeah.
And I've got questions. I think it might be because the Bills and Texans, like that game's going to be on in the early window, but like that's on CBS,
right?
So I don't. And same thing's going on in Baltimore. Baltimore also is like in this. So if you live in Baltimore and you're like, man, can't wait to watch Washington because that's my team. Yeah, we'll go to hell because you're getting Arizona and San Francisco for reasons not one human being can explain.
It doesn't make any sense. Missouri is split. Missouri has 3 different games that are being shown. The state of Missouri.
Yes.
Which is very fun. I also do love the little blue speck around Baton Rouge for the Cleveland and Washington game, obviously for Jalen Daniels. But I find that very humorous. Missouri getting split basically right down the middle by the atrocity that is Vegas at Denver. And the other atrocity of Carolina at Chicago.
Yeah. Oh, like, hey guys, we don't know. Sorry,
we'll spare half of you from one of this game and half of you from the other game. And then the southern the boot heel of Missouri is getting Arizona at San Francisco. So again, look, the late window is not phenomenal. The Fox window is not phenomenal. Truth,
no, it is not.
Looking at it now, Mark Sanchez is calling a game.
Okay, sure.
Jonathan, wow. Okay, can I read you the color commentators for this? You probably already know. Obviously, Greg Olson was done dirty by Fox.
I was just saying, we've gotten more screwed over, but yes.
Justice for Greg Olson. He was actually good. Jonathan Vilma is the color commentator for Carolina at Chicago. Mark Sanchez, color commentator for Miami at New England. Tom Brady, obviously, with Kevin Burkhardt in Arizona at San Francisco. and Daryl Johnson for the Vegas at Denver. I just thought seeing Greg Olsen, Jonathan Vilma, Mark Sanchez, and Tom Brady all in the same list was kind of crazy.
Yeah, I agree. But the whole thing is insane. I'll never be able to figure out how the NFL thinks of some of these things.
No.
Like a lot of it's like common sense, but then there's just these random oh yeah, what about this? Okay, I guess. Sure. So yeah, but yeah, Baltimore and Buffalo can enjoy Arizona, San Francisco in the late window. Again, for reasons that make zero sense. Okay, sure, there you go, have fun.
I'm trying to think if anybody would have went to college around there, but there's no huge college.
Also, I love that in the late window, the whole country, at least in Baltimore, you get Green Bay and the Rams. Buffalo also gets the Giants and the Seahawks. Here you go, guys. Go to hell. Here's these games for you. Have fun.
Buffalo did kind of get screwed with this. Also,
Buffalo, big NFC West fan base out there. Arizona, Seattle, San Francisco. Awesome. Just sign me up.
Yeah. Different direction, different conference than what their teams did. It's perfect. I realized I did say that earlier during Benny's segment that New York was going to Minnesota. They're actually going to London.
They're going to London. It is technically a Minnesota home game, but yes, the game.
Yes, the game is in London. That'll be on NFL Network with Rich Eisen and Kurt Warner. Sunday night, as we mentioned, is Dallas at Pittsburgh. Obviously, Monday night being New Orleans at Kansas City. No, interesting. They have simulcast on here. I didn't realize they ever had that on this website. Of what stations will be simulcasting them, the national TV games. That makes sense. Yeah. Any other thoughts, Matt, before we get out of here for week 5? As we are starting bye weeks, we are in it now. We are neck deep in the NFL season.
I have no other thoughts. The Chiefs have a bye after this. I look forward to not having stress the next 2 Sundays with the Chiefs because they don't play till Monday night, and then they have a bye, so I can sit back and just watch other games and not get a migraine, which is pretty much what happens with me when I watch the Chiefs now. Even though they win every game, but they got just one time 27-6 would be great.
Yeah. Like the season opener against the Cardinals that one year. What was
yeah. Just once in a while, guys. He's yeah, we're going to take it serious and blow this team out. And she's it's
Bears game last year. Something like that. Come on now.
Yes. Yeah.
Hopefully the Panthers game will be like that. I think I've already called the, I have it written on the whiteboard in the office, 19-13 Chiefs over the Browns. I've already penciled that score in.
Oh, okay, good.
So we'll be good there. We've got another heart attack game going on there, but that's going to do it for this week's edition of That Football Show. Again, as we mentioned, bye week next week for the Kansas City Chiefs. We'll still be back to talking all things NFL. League doesn't stop. Crazy league. All kinds of stories going on, everything like that. So we will be back to talk more football with you next week. So for Matt Verderame, I'm Tucker Franklin. Big thank you to Ben Holiday, Bottled and Bond Bourbon, Holiday Distillery, Underdog, and everything they got going on there. Use promo code KCSN. We will talk to you guys next week.
Go Royals. Beat the Yankees.